and it's going to get stronger. Russia's relations with the world are stronger than before. Not with the West. They've never been strong with the West.
Right.
My perception is that NATO is an institution that takes on because it's existed for so long, it's assumed an independent character, a personality that might be different from the personalities of its constituent nations. So NATO has this strategic objective of survival. Remember, this is an institution that needs to survive.
Yeah.
France doesn't need NATO to survive.
No.
England doesn't need NATO to survive. No nation needs NATO to survive. NATO needs NATO to survive. That's it. That's all there is. This is an organization that long ago lost a viable reason to exist. It only exists to please itself. It is literally the self-licking ice cream cone that now decided that we're going to make an issue of Ukraine. But there are 30 members of NATO, and NATO is a consensus-driven organization, and you need all 30 members to agree. And here's the weakness of NATO. NATO was using the Minsk Accords as a vehicle to buy time while NATO trained the Ukrainian army so that the Ukrainian army, acting as a proxy of NATO, could launch an offensive operation against the Donbass, occupy it, and then push Russia out of Crimea. This was the NATO plan all along. Use the Ukrainian military as a proxy army to attack Russia, so that Ukraine could be seized away from the Russian orbit once and for all. This is why, when this war, the special military operation started, and Vladimir Putin and his generals were saying, we have no choice but to attack now because the Ukrainians have amassed this massive force that are going to attack in the next couple of days or weeks, the Donbass. So we have to preempt their attack. That's why they cited Article 51, peremptory collective self-defense, authorized, under the United Nations Charter. Everybody went, oh, you're just making that up. That's just the Russians playing a legal game. No, it's real. It's real. Yeah. Ukraine had massed around 100,000 troops, trained by NATO, equipped by NATO, led by officers operating under instructions from NATO, who were ready to attack the Donbass sometime in early March. So that's the reality of the situation. So NATO was always going to go to war against Russia, but not as NATO, using the Ukrainian army.
Yeah.
Now, the way they were going to pressure the Russians not to interfere with this was through economic means. The thing about NATO and Europe, they bought into the American plan. They bought into the premise that even if Russia does attack Ukraine, it can't sustain this attack because we're going to hit Russia with everything we got economically. And the idea was the economy would collapse, the Russian people would rise up, would switch out, and victory to the Ukraine, Slava Ukraina. There's a problem, though, and it's called Russia. The Russians are smarter and better at doing this kind of stuff than we are. They're more focused. They're serious actors, and when they were ready for the sanctions. And I don't need to get long story short. All we have to do is say the sanctions boomerang. It's not the Russian economy that's collapsing right now. No. It's the European economy.
Correct.
It's the American economy.
Yeah.
The ruble isn't rubble. The ruble's stronger than it has been in some time now, and it's going to get stronger. Russia's relations with the world are stronger than before. Not with the West. They've never been strong with the West, not with the United States. Russia doesn't care. They divorced from us. They're now focused eastwards towards China, an alliance that's better than any alliance in the world, we're told, and apparently it is. Yeah. They have strong relationships with India, with the rest of the world. They're selling their oil. For an economy that's supposed to be collapsing, they had a $100 billion surplus last quarter. They're going to have a $150 billion surplus. I think Joe Biden would die for a surplus. Like he'd die for a surplus of $1. We're running a deficit economy that's it's on the verge of collapse right now. But this is a long way of setting up to your answer. Can NATO survive this? NATO as an institution is a byproduct of the political will of constituent members. They're going to have a meeting in the end of June this month. in Madrid. It's an interesting meeting
Yeah.
because, let's talk about Germany for a second. Germany, who is going to not only spend 100 billion euro to revitalize their military, which any historian would say probably the dumbest idea in history, to allow the Germans
Yeah.
to create a massive military tied to an expansionist foreign policy. 100 billion euro from what? What economy is going to generate this 100 billion euro? Because in addition to this, you brought up something interesting. The European community got together and they just had, I think last month, this wonderful meeting that they always have.
Mhm.
They say, we're going to take advantage of this opportunity provided by the Russians, the divorce from Russian energy, and we're going to revitalize our commitment to green. We're going to commit 210 billion euro for a new energy strategy that'll free us from Russian energy by 2024. And because we're Europeans and we're so well-meaning, we're going to have renewables just jump up and expand. And we're well on the way to the green economy that we always wanted. Thank you, Russia, Slava Ukraina. It didn't work. It's not working.
No.
Germany right now is in a gas emergency.
Yeah.
The German government has announced the alarm phase of the gas emergency. They're rationing energy. Their industries are going to shut down. And God bless the renewables, but they don't generate squat.
Yes.
And they
Thank
can't
you.
generate squat. You can't build a green economy on anything other than a fully functioning carbon economy. You need a carbon economy that's working on all cylinders,
Yes.
that has enough buffer that you can then begin to replace. But everything's got to be functioning. The carbon economy is collapsing in Germany right now. They've got to bring more carbon in. They've got to fire up the coal plants. They don't have any nuclear plants to fire up because they shut them down.
Yeah.
The Germans are going down for the count. It's the death punt. This is the reality that we're in right now.